So today we've been dispatched to a residential address for a 70-year-old male with acute chest pain. His wife's met us at the house and she's described to us that he has a sudden onset of chest pain with some associated dizziness while standing, and that he's also felt some palpitations. So we've assessed our patient. We've found that Frank's unable to obey commands, so he's got a lowered level of consciousness. He's also very pale and clammy. We've done a set of vitals, found that he's got a broad complex tachycardia at about 170 beats per minute. He's got a rest rate of 18. He has a blood pressure of 70/40, so he's quite hypertensive. We've also done a BGL to make sure that's not the reason for his lowered level of consciousness, which is fine at 7.6. And we've also done a temperature and looking for any signs of infection that could be causing him to be this way, but that was fine too at 37, and there's no signs of infection that we can see. We're going to complete a 12 lead because of his broad complex tachycardia, and we can consider giving him aspirin, but he's unable to obey commands and will be unlikely to be able to chew the tablet. This is the 12 lead that we've gained from Frank. There's a broad complex tachycardia obvious there. We're suspecting that it's VT. We can see that there's capture and infusion beats present as well, which leads more likely to the diagnosis of VT, along with the fact that he's had a previous MI about 5 years ago. There's no left bundle branch block or right bundle branch block morphology present, and there's precordial concordance, which suggests to us that it's more likely to be VT than SVT with aberrancy. We've also looked for signs of an infection, which we couldn't find any of, and we're also considering there might be an electrolyte imbalance, possibly. However, because he's got a low blood pressure, he's hypertensive, he's quite pale and clammy, and he's unable to obey commands, he's severely compromised, and we're treating as for VT, and we're going to cardiovert him. So we've determined that our patient is in VT, he's severely compromised, and he's status 1. We've called for an R50, and while the 50 is en route, we're going to cardiovert. We've gained IV access, however we don't need to sedate our patient because he's currently unable to obey commands. But we're going to prepare for cardioversion, and we're going to use the checklist within our pocket CPGs. Alrighty, first thing we want to do is lay our patient supine. And we're going to attach the defibrillator pads. These are going to be in the apex and sternal position. So we can see our broad complex tachycardia. We're going to turn the defibrillator to manual mode, making sure that it's at max joules, which is 360. So that's the joule we want for an adult. We're then going to synchronise it. So to do this, we need to make sure that we've got a lead with a good QRS complex. And we'll also make sure that we've got no artefacts. Artefacts suggest that it's poor lead placement. So this gives us a good view. We're then going to select this lead. We're going to sync it. We can print out a strip here to see that there's detection symbols at every single QRS complex. There we go. And that's evident on the screen as well. We don't need to sedate our patient as he's already unable to obey commands. So now we're ready to cardiovert our patient, but before we do so, we're going to just check our cardioversion checklist, make sure we've ticked off all the points before we do so. So he's in VT. We've got the defibrillator pads attached in the sternal and apex positions. Our monitor is in manual mode, and the lead with the tallest R wave selected. There's no artifact. We've got detection symbols above every QRS complex, and it's in sync mode. We don't need to sedate him because he's still unable to obey commands, and we're selected up to maximum joules. So what we're going to do is we're going to cardiovert him. So we're going to charge up. So we're charging up to 360 joules. Right, everybody clear? Shocking. So now that he's been cardioverted, what we want to do is we want to reassess his rhythm, see if he's still in VT, and we want to reassess his level of compromise. If he's still in VT and he requires a second cardioversion, we need to make sure that the monitor's still in manual mode, that it's still synced to the right lead, and that we can cardiovert again. If not, then we want to extradite and we want to transport him to hospital.